board, superintendent, or the public so requests, items may be removed from this section and placed in the regular order of business following the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any desire to remove the consent agenda? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. Okay. The second was George.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Ms. Pocket?
Yes.
Mr. Dykstra?
Yes.
Ms. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
And Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 6.1, communications and reports. This portion of the meeting is set aside for the purpose of allowing an opportunity for individuals to address the board representing matters not on the agenda. The board is not allowed to take action on any items which is not on the agenda except as authorized by Government Code Section 54954.2. Request forms for this purpose are located at the entrance to the meeting room. Request forms are to be submitted to the board clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the board will limit the total number of time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. However, in exceptional circumstances when necessary to ensure full opportunity for public input, the president may, with board consent, adjust the amount of time allowed for public input and/or the time allotted to each speaker. So we have how many? About 10 here? Okay. Okay, so we have about 10, so it's going to be more than 20 minutes. Is the board okay with listening to all the speakers? Okay. This does not end anyway, so we'll try that. Okay, before we do this, I want to make a statement that to everyone who's speaking, we have had quite a few controversial issues coming before the board, and we are very happy to hear everybody's input. I do ask that the speakers and the audience be respectful to everybody who's speaking. If there are outbursts during anybody who's speaking, I don't care what side you're on, if I agree or disagree, I will pound the gavel, give a warning to that person speaking out in the audience, and then the second warning, you will be asked to leave the meeting. I think that's fair to everybody, because we do want to hear from everybody, and we are very interested in everybody's input. Okay. I do have one public comment that came in. The board received a written comment from a public. It will not be read out loud, but will be made part of the record, and everyone will get it. Everyone has it. Will get a copy of this right now. All right. All right, we're all set. Jeffrey Karen, you up first.
If I can just set this down real quick.
And I will keep everyone to their 3 minutes. I will just say thank you and ask you to sit down at the 3-minute mark. So pay attention to both.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm here simply to bring attention to the fact that we've had some pretty outlandish stuff that's been coming to the news and the media. We've had a lot of really grotesque things that are coming out. Project Veritas has exposed some rather frightening things. And so I'm not here to stir the pot. I'm just simply here to make sure that the board is aware of the fact that a large number of citizens and a large number of constituents in the community do not agree with the things that Mr. Tenen was saying. I think that there's a lot of parents that are truly concerned about the fact that the landing spot could be brought back. And until we can assure that this is going to be handled the way that the constituents believe, which is, I mean, obvious that a large majority agree that he shouldn't be allowed back on campus, I'm just simply here to reiterate that. I'm just here to bring it to the attention of the things that were said, and I think that a lot of people are on board with us. So I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm not here to be loud or boisterous or anything like that or flamboyant. Simply just trying to get to the point. I, as a parent, as a concerned citizen, somebody with school-age children, it was incredibly frightening to hear some of the things that I heard Casey saying on this Project Veritas video in regards to what were going on in the wellness centers. And I think what really is scary is about the fact that we don't know what kind of background this gentleman has. From what I've been looking into, there was no real background checks done on this gentleman. I mean, I know to go to a field trip with my children, I'm required to do a live scan. I'm required to have a background check, to be anywhere near kids, to be on a campus. Even if I want to go volunteer on a campus, there has to be a background check done. So I think to go forward, as a member of this community, I would like to see the board or whoever's involved with the schools in future events where we're bringing on people that are going to be influencing children or they're going to be around children, that we have a mission, an understanding. The parents and the community need to be aware of who's being brought on campus and the influence and how close they're going to be to your kids. I mean, we can all agree that mental health is a really, it's a problem right now in society. There's a lot of issues with mental health. So I can agree as a parent that I have no issues with having funding going towards mental health. There are definitely, I have no argument. I believe all children should have somewhere to go to talk about their problems. But as a person who doesn't necessarily agree with what Casey does, I don't feel that people like me and my children would have a safe place. When I go on campus and I see the flags that are being flown in regards to, it's scary. So I just want to let you guys know safe places work for all children, and schools are supposed to be safe places for everybody, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, whatever. So just as a concerned parent and a member of the community, I just want to bring that to the board and let you guys know in a peaceful, polite way that I would appreciate if you guys could hold that standard from the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. All right, Gus Murphy, and,
I'm alone.
yeah, I know, you know, you're, I was on deck chair. I got some doctors here who is the right, is it Nike? Nike? Aldo.
Mike.
Mike.
That's Michael. Yeah.
It's M-I-K-E.
That's because the pictures that you put up there don't work. I go back.
All right, we'll blame the pen. All right, guys.
My name is Gus Murphy. I have 2 children in Western Platte Unified School District. I wrote on my sheet that I want to talk about the California Teachers Association. I talk about them a lot because I think they've graduated from labor union to church, and I'll explain what I mean. They kind of fit the definition. The California Teachers Association puts money in the pot every month. They have a set of ideologies that they bring to the table, and certainly a sense of community. We are CTA everywhere you look. So sorry to yell, that was just not at anybody. But you know, and they will call names and they will defend with everything they have against anybody who would threaten those very ideologies. To me, that's a church. That's not a labor union. It's supposed to be about how many children in the classroom, fair wages, good working conditions. Not to mention, they got masking children way wrong. And they got forcing the vaccination on kids way wrong. So you think that those are the people that I'm gonna let drive the bus when it comes to my child's mental health? No way. I won't let it happen. And I also want to mention that there is a very big gray area between banning books and not having them as curriculum. And at the heart of all of this, and what Jeffrey just talked about, is that it's one thing, I'll just put it simply, religion does not belong in the classroom. I think we were all okay with that. We knew that belonged in the living room because it's an ideology. And now Reverend Tennant, if I'm not mistaken, Reverend, right, that carries some pretty religious connotations, is bringing in ideology. And you know, it may not be about Jesus, it may not be about Allah, but it's certainly teaching children a way that they're supposed to look at the world. Children's brains aren't fully formed until they're in their early to mid-20s. Boys and girls reach puberty sometime, typically around 10 to 12, right? And I would think you'd be hard pressed to find someone within your district that would stand up here and put their degree and their credentials on the line and say that a child has the cognitive ability and the aptitude to make a fully formed decision about their sexuality at that early of an age. I doubt those parents would even let them go get a tattoo. You might regret it later, but somehow not only are we condoning it, we are helping people like Reverend Tenen come in here. Look, if parents want to teach religion to their own children, that's fine. If they want to go home and over dinner confuse their children about their gender, that's fine. When you bring it into public schools, you get to meet people like me and some of the other folks that are going to speak tonight. And I'm happy to tell you, lastly, that it took me a while to get there, but I'm back. The videos are going to start again, and I look forward to bringing Placer together to fight this. Thank you.
Thanks, Gus.
Mike, you're up, and Mike Murray's on deck.
Good evening, Board. To touch on what Madam President said to start the meeting off, I'm here tonight to speak on the lack of respect and decorum recently from some of the community members, teachers, and parents in the audience during board meetings. At the emergency board meeting, there was a man, and I will not say his name, some of us know him, screamed at board member Prophet as she was speaking. He yelled out calling her a racist a-hole. I'm not going to use the word, there's children present. So she is far from that, okay? She's married to a man who's Mexican. I'm a good friend of hers, and I'm also Hispanic, okay? I've never, and I repeat, never, ever heard her say anything that would be deemed as racist. To throw that word out there without knowing someone is ignorant, and at the same time, it is also defamation of character by legal definition. Her reputation and integrity have been damaged because of it, and it stops now. These board members were elected by all of us, so we need to work together to get things done, not tear them down. If you don't like something, bring your facts, not your feelings, and speak to them on it. These meetings are not for anyone to yell and scream out vulgarities in the presence of children or anyone else for that matter. So be respectful from this point on. Show the children present that we can get through these meetings in a civilized manner. I appreciate all that the board members do. Thank you, Mr. Beaver.
Thank you, Mike. And Alicia Denoyer on deck.
All right, thank you. I'm Mike Murray. I wanted to say thank you to this board. Under the leadership of April, George, and Marjorie, you guys made huge strides in this district. You had one of the biggest passed around in a historic worst academic performing district when you took that seat, and you are not disappointing right now. You put the focus on education and have worked hard to take the nonsense off campus. Don't let the bullies and loudmouths that make up a small minority of this district discourage you. They call you those names to try and hurt you, but please know the community is behind you. Thank you for fighting for the kids, thank you for fighting for the families, and thank you for fighting for education. Thank you for standing up against the bullies. Thank you for helping fix a messy district and set the students up for a good future. Thank you.
Alicia, and Susan
Martineau.
Martinell, you're on deck.
Hello, I'm Alicia Denoyer. I have 2 kids in the district. I have a couple things I'm going to speak on, my own experience as well. First, I want to start with reading an email. Our family chose to opt out from the Hate U Give. I would expect that I'd be responded with an email such as, they support me, my child will get through it, even though he chose not to read the given first choice book. It says that his English teacher has let his curriculum support teacher know that we chose to opt out. She wants to let me know that my child will be the only student in his English class and the only student in his curriculum support class who will be reading Bless Me Ultima, the other choice. His English teacher and curriculum support will obviously do their best to support my child individually, and there's a plan to have student tutors take part in the circle with your student that don't have partners. However, it's just not the same as being part of the small group conversations that will be happening. I just wanted to make sure you have all the information when you make your decision upon opting out. I don't feel that that's the correct style to respond to a parent with. I feel it's a form of intimidation, coercion, bullying, into getting my child to opt back in. I did speak with Ms. Haladin on this as well. She called me, not regarding these emails that she was fully aware of, but she called me regarding another more smaller matter. And she did let me know that that email was sent to all the parents that chose to opt out. After reading that email, those parents then chose to opt back in because they did not want their child to be alone or the only one. Again, coercion. Also, I'd like to speak on the landing spot as well. I'm fully vetted, live scanned, TB tested. I'm a room parent and I volunteer and chaperone field trips. I was not allowed on campus to bring my child pizza at Lincoln High School, and that was at the end of the day. It would not be interrupting his class time. However, the landing spot, because they are recommended and have good reviews from other schools, were casually allowed on campus, and yet I was not. So that's a huge concern and red flag for me. I was let know that this would not happen again. It was an oversight. I don't think that's acceptable. Also, I'd like to know how these two contradict each other. Carrie Callahan said that the landing spot, you guys have ceased relationship with them. Ms. Haladin's email was sent out saying that it has been paused. Two very different things.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good job, Mom Bear.
And Nicole Young, you're on deck.
Hi. I'm just gonna read a few things tonight. I can't believe we're here again. I'm talking about the landing spot. And I want everyone here to write this down. Lewd and luscious. Luscious.
Lascivious.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Write it down.
Got it.
Because it's a crime. So I don't even know why we're even discussing the landing spot. All I think of, I saw the Project Veritas video, I saw their little drag show. They have a little video of their little drag show. To me, that's like a little striptease. Imagine if those men dressed as women were actually real women doing it to your sons. Imagine that. That would be totally unacceptable. And in a school, anyway, lewd and lascivious, it's a crime. It's actually a felony. It's defined as a sexual act that is offensive to community standards of decency. It often involves a child. Physical penetration is not necessary. It's a felony. It's a crime, for Christ's sake. Lewd and lascivious, whatever.
Lascivious.
We know what you mean.
Okay? The word means something that is sexually unchaste or lustful. The word lascivious means something that is sexually arousing or lustful. Again, imagine if these were real women stripping and taking cash tips from your little boys. Because it is offensive sexual desire, conduct that is lewd or lascivious battery often involves children. I want you to write that down, because then I want moral turpitude. Write that down. Crimes involving moral turpitude. Okay?
School board meeting in Lincoln.
What do they say?
Landing spot.
Attempted lewd acts of a minor. There it is again. Lewd and lascivious. Okay? Penal Code 2888. Again, I can't stress to you enough, I don't understand why we're here, why we're even debating this issue. I saw the video Project Veritas did, and I saw the little few-minute video that their little drag queens do. It's a striptease. I mean, why is that in our school? Why are we even debating that? Don't you all have something better to do? It's a crime. I would hate for any of you to be held accountable for allowing a crime to take place in our schools.
You will.
So again, let's all look up moral turpitude and lewd and lascivious acts. That's all I'd like to say, except I'm getting really tired of having to babysit people, you know? Like, I don't even understand why it's even an option for them to be here.
CT.
Thank you, Susan.
Good job, Susan.
Nicole, you're up, and Joe, up to date, Via, you are on deck.
Thank you, Board. First off, I want to thank Marjorie and George for answering the call to run for these seats. You've done great things so far and continue to advocate for the students in this community. I just want to thank you for your service to this district. You both have the highest of integrity, and I can't think of anyone better to fight for our children. And Marjorie, thank you for continuing to stand strong in the face of adversary. Thank you.
Joe and Kathy Arch, you are on deck.
Good evening.
Real quick before you start, these are the last ones we'll accept. Okay.
Last board meeting, I spoke in opposition of AB 659, and the board approved a resolution in opposition of AB 659. 2 days later, they amended it. So it seems like the board kind of rushed that, not waiting for the process to go through. It was amended, it no longer involves school-age kids at all. It's something that's going to be talked about at the college system. Also last board meeting, the board started 2 new committees, a performance committee and a curriculum committee. I'm hoping that they can find the systems in place to enhance instead of creating more work for the district office. There's plenty of systems. There were speakers last week that talked about systems that were already there. They reported out on student performance. Maybe we could ask more questions on those to get the facts that we need going forward. Instead of adding additional layers at this time. It just seems to be redundant in what the district's already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Marlene Martinez, you are on deck.
Hi, my name is Kathy Hartz, and I've lived in the Lincoln area since 1987, and it's really great to be here tonight to see so many parents who are standing up for their children and for what's going on in our schools nationwide, and especially here in Western Placer Unified School District. And I'm here to thank Marjorie and for George for standing up for our children, and I know all of you do, but especially just the abuse that I've seen. Just want to let you know that we're watching, even though we haven't been here at every single board meeting, we're watching. And it's just not me. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds or possibly thousands of people are watching to see what is going to happen in the school district for our children. I've raised my two daughters in Lincoln, and I have 4 grandchildren that are coming up. And the homeschool movement is growing rapidly because people are afraid of what is going on in our schools. And I'm here to thank you all for standing up for our children and for what the traditional values and getting back to education and enough of this social nonsense. So just thank you so very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Marlene, and then Dr. Ken, this is a doctor, Dr. Ken Campbell. I'm really struggling with this. I need to go back. I think I need to go back to school. Sorry. All right, Marlene, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I will be talking for Quest Roads, and then if I have time, I'll be adding my own comments. Hello, this is Quest Roads. I hope that I would never have to come to this, but here we are. The removal of the landing spot from our district can only be described as morally wrong, arrogantly foolish, and frankly disgusting. The district has chosen to remove the LGBTQ support group from Lincoln High School on the grounds of a single fake video from a so-called activist group who is well known for their edited content and manipulative tactics. I have seen the video and where they claim to expose the landing spot and its founder. However, all I saw were bent truths, irrelevant information, and flat-out lies. At the beginning of their methodically crafted video, Project Verdiness spliced questions to entirely different answers, altering the message to villainize Casey. Although they show less edited clips on a barely legal interview later in the conversation, the initial falsified clips were all that were needed to garner the necessary rage from parents who don't even understand the terms used. Furthermore, many of the questions were posed in a way that made it difficult or even impossible to escape a negative answer. This tactic of using leading questions has been abused by Project Verdiness in the past and has been heavily frowned upon by government officials and media groups alike. In short, Project Verdiness possesses no journalistic ethics and should not be trusted under any circumstance. As a student who has friends who identify as part of the LGBTQ community, it causes me great pain to see one of the only places where people get to support get support be so hastily taken away. Although the removal of the landing spot is extremely concerning, I can't help but ask what's next. I was never a prominent, but unfortunately it appears the possibility has become a reality. First the hate you give, now the landing spot. I fear for what has the potential to be silenced and maliciously removed next. Thank you. I apologize for my shaky voice. The landing spot's very dear to me. I know Casey myself. He's a great man, and I look up to him very much. I grew up going to drag shows. My mom did from the age of 5, and I still go to them now. They're not sexual. I enjoy them very much. My mom did as well. My grandmas are lesbian. I'm bisexual. The landing spot has been great support in this community because it's hard to find that. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Dr. Finn and Jolene,
Shape out.
what is it?
Did they get their hands?
They got it.
No, the Shapeok, ma'am.
So that is a hard one.
Yeah, I agree.
Jolene, you are on deck. Fire away, doctor.
Hi, my name is Ken Campbell, and no doubt I'm the old geezer here. I've been here forever, and my kids went through the school system in the 90s. And we were very involved with the school at the time then. And quite honestly, I'm retired. I thought I was done with all that.
Right.
Until my daughter was sitting in my office with one of our precious little grandchildren.
Yep.
And my daughter was talking to me, and she was relaying a story about a little girl encouraged by the school that thought, not this school, another school in Northern California, that thought she was a boy. And so she was going to transition, right? And here I'm in the medical field, and let's be honest, you can't change sexes. I mean, in the medical field, we know that. But anyway, they gave her the hormones and the puberty blockers, and they whacked off her boobs. And then my daughter's telling me about how now she's detransitioning, and she understands now that she's older and she's really a girl. And I looked at my little daughter and my grandchild, and I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible. And then we started talking about this landing spot video. And I knew at that point, I said, I can't let this go. My grandchildren are too precious to me, and they're here, and they're going to be going through the school system. You know, having raised kids, we understand the incredible time, the work, the love, into raising those precious little children. We know that every stage of development, we see them. We know their needs, their wants, their desires, their dreams. The school has a very limited and narrow knowledge and experience with the child, and passing them off to the landing spot for play dates, and not informing the parents, but instead going around the parents' backs, that is beyond the pale. That's shameful, quite honestly.
It is.
The school should stick with teaching children how to read, how to write, math, science, etc. Leave the parenting to the parents and stop trying to destroy that parent-child relationship. Now, when I saw this Project Veritas video, I had to say, I want to know who vetted the landing spot. We want to know who checked them out. Who okayed handing off the child to the landing spot? Someone must have been responsible for that. Someone must have okayed that, and we need to know.
Yes.
We need to know who okayed that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Jolene, you are up, and Chris, you are on deck.
Hi, I'm Jolene. I am a mother of 3 in Lincoln, California. And I have 2 things. One, I do agree on the landing spot, just a letter to the parents announcing that they have been ceased or paused the relationship. I do think it needs to be taken a step further and investigated
Yes.
as to how it happened. And maybe it is true that the Project Veritas is incorrect, maybe it isn't, but without an investigation, I don't think that the correct information is being provided to the community, and I think everyone in this room should insist that a proper investigation take place to find out
you know, how it happened if it was correct, how it happened if it was incorrect, and then let's get it corrected so that it is, you know, done correctly, things are vetted correctly, and we're certain of that, not uncertain, because right now, there seems to be a bit of uncertainty. And I think if we have that, and we help the community understand what's going on, and also just to make sure that it doesn't happen again, because the next, you know, person, if they weren't vetted correctly, could just come in and do a similar thing or whatnot. But I'd also like to talk about diversity and inclusion in our schools. I'd like to bring to the attention that I feel not enough are realizing is happening, and that is hypocrisy.
Yep.
Inclusion actually means including everyone. In the most recent example of the book, The Hate You Give, which has already proven to be quite controversial, I do not feel we're setting the appropriate example of inclusion and diversity in our community. Inclusion by definition means the act of including or the state of being included. Diversity by definition means the condition of having or being composed of differing elements, variety, especially the inclusion of people of different races, cultures, etc. in a group or organization. If we are to be diverse, inclusive, and accepting, then all of our different values need to be considered important. If it's controversial, then it's controversial for a reason. If you consider it to be oppressive to force or coerce or simply not allow or ban a book when there are parents that want to read it or students that want their parents that want their students to read it, then it would also be true that it would be oppressive to force the parents and students that don't feel that it's appropriate. And so I feel like a solution where both sides are being included. We need to make sure that everybody is being respected and understood for their views, because they have a reason for those views, and it's okay. We should be different. There should be opposing. There should be people on different sides. We have different upbringings. We have different cultures. And as a community, we should be okay and respect and understand each other and come up with a solution that is effective to include everyone, not to say, oh, well, you're on this side and you're on that side and we're going to be divided.
Correct.
And we're going to be against each other.
Straight up.
I think we should get along. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Mom Bear. Loving it. These awesome moms.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Baldwin. I live in Sheridan. I have one child left in school. She's a senior at Lincoln High School. And I'm going to go off topic in a second here. But as it kind of popped up, I'm also a volunteer coach for the Lincoln shooting sports team. And the vetting was pretty rigorous with that. So for the landing spot, I would like to see, to understand what the vetting process was with them. And then again, an investigation, I think, is a great idea as well, to see, what's what and what happened everywhere.
Thank you.
I wasn't going to chime in on the book, but generally speaking, I'm not averse to any type of reading, especially reading that gets kids interested in reading a book.
Right.
With that, I hope the committee will come up with some sort of a program where they split the baby, right? I kind of land on the place where if you would need permission to show an R-rated film in class or R-rated material from the parents, then if the book qualifies as kind of R-rated material,
It's gotta go.
that seems like a no-brainer to me. So hopefully we'll be able to, come up with some sort of a process where everybody's notified of what's in the, what's in the program, what's on the reading list, and parents can decide whether they want their kids to read that or not. So as far as borrowing some trouble, I wanted to talk a little bit about the pandemic and say, as processes and policies and things come up during the pandemic, they never seem to ever get rolled back eventually.
Nope.
So, we made a lot of decisions and closures and lockdowns and things like that based on things that we know now or not.
Incremental
Whether
takeaways.
you're talking about vaccines or masks or lockdowns or keeping kids home or
The devil is
distancing
real.
or whatever it happens to be.
Yes,
So,
it is, Curtis.
over the next few weeks or meetings, I'll probably be trying to talk more about getting something like that onto the agenda and really talking about, hey, have we looked at some of the policies and programs?
Thank you,
and
Mr.
rolled
Nice
those
Guy.
back? One of them that I can
I already
speak to
spoke,
is
but
the
I'll
freelance
try to
program,
speak again if
right?
they let me
I
speak
don't
on another
wanna see any
topic.
students, and as any parent in the district would say, we don't want to see any kids go hungry. That's not the point. But I'm going to guess, knowing statistics, that probably more than 80% of parents in this community could afford something for their kids' lunch, right? So to be able to pull that back, and then on top of that, I happen to know that there's quite a bit of waste in that.
No
in
worry,
the
Chris.
system right
I kept
now.
it
A lot of
calm.
food's going
I'll
to-
share the
going
edit.
to waste on that side, so I hope it's something that you will eventually take a look at, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about it more in the future.
I was the first one to speak. Thank you, sir. Good job, brother.
All right, so we are at 6.2, which is, reports. First, the student advisory.
Okay, so there will be, is this on?
Yes.
There will be a farm open house on April 12th, which will be pretty fun. And then our stunt team won against Oakmont and Toll Bridges High School last week. Claire's not here for me to rub it in her face, but. JV and varsity boys volleyball took home wins last week against Placer. And about 2 weeks ago, our lacrosse team had its first win in LHS history because this is our first year with the lacrosse team. Last week, Peyton Darapensany, a class of 2022 graduate, came back to LHS to talk about her experiences as a student at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And then for upcoming events, prom is coming up in about a month and a week, I think, on May 13th. And then what's also happening in a month, that's not really mine to report because it's happening at Clover's High School, but I'm going to report it anyways because there's Lincoln High School students in it.
Thank you.
Including yours truly. So,
Appreciate you.
Mamma Mia is happening at Clover's High School and it opens on May 4th and is showing through May 13th on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7. Except for the closing show on Saturday the 13th will be a matinee and will be free for mothers because it's the day before Mother's Day. Last week, a lot of students heard about teachers that will not be teaching at Lincoln next year. And although they understand that there's not really anything that can be done, I think it's important that you know that this will have a negative impact on students at LHS. And a lot of students were pretty upset to hear about some of the teachers that will be moving to other sites next year. And then the other last thing I want to touch on, the landing spot. The landing spot was a space where LGBTQ plus kids could go to feel safe and heard and seen and respected and valued. It had a very positive impact on a very vulnerable group of students. LGBTQ plus teens are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their peers. And to take this resource away from them is devastating. I'm very disappointed for those students, and I'm afraid for those students, and I'm angry for those students. I believe that this was an indispensable resource, and I believe that it should be brought back to our campus. But until then, or if it never comes back, finding a current solution for students needs to be a top priority in our district. Something needs to be done to replace the resource that's been taken from these students immediately, because right now, I don't think LGBTQ students at LHS feel valued. I don't know what the solution is, but something needs to be done to help the students that are suffering because of this. The problem that some parents have is that no one is required to tell them if their kid goes to the landing spot, but that's standard. If you go to a place like the Wellness Center, it's confidential. That's always been the case. And no one is forced to go to the landing spot or the Wellness Center. It's a resource that's available if you need or want it. It doesn't put your kid in danger, but it does create a safe space for the kids that need it. And the bottom line is, kids could die without this resourse because this same
They always
resource
use
has
that, don't
saved
they?
kids' lives. It's saved kids that I know lives. And I just think we need to do something about it.
Thank you, Arno.
She's hella biased, that's why.
Yes,
Part of that community.
first off, I had the opportunity to go to Southbridge's
Student
art
advisor.
show, and it was fantastic. It was an entire school full of color and life, and every classroom had art. The gymnasium was full. You would stop and you'd look at some of the people who did these things, and you'd see you'd try to guess who they were, and they're 8- and 9-year-old kids. It was absolutely brilliant, and 12 Bridges should be very proud of their art program. It's exceptional. 2 other quick things. We have a thing called the Academic Excellence Committee. We met for the first time. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but our plan is, and our goal is to improve the academic standards and quality of the school system. kind of a big goal, but it's something that we certainly want to do, and I think almost all parents are going to be in favor of that, and we're going to do our best to do that, and I think we will. And finally, we're both on what's called the Dyslexia Committee, and a number of very good parents had spoken and asked for such a committee for months, and I'm happy to say that we responded, we have a committee, and I think we're going to do wonderful things. And there's the figure is that 20% of kids have dyslexia, and they haven't had the ability to receive proper training in that. I was at William Jessup, and they've had two evening programs on it, which were just brilliant. And we'll be reporting more about the dyslexia committee and how we're going to test a little bit earlier and give a great deal of help to kids who are going to need that. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Member Prophet.
I had lunch at Tolbridges High School with our student council member Clara, who's not here tonight. We tried the new chef-inspired menu, the grass-fed beef tacos. They were delicious. I'd go eat it again every day. Free food is excellent. I also had coffee last week with our other board, our student representative here. That was nice. I actually found that we have more in common than we don't have in common. She's ambitious.
I already spoke. Libs for America. I spoke first. No one's leaving because they're afraid of me. I've already spoke.
Pretty neat to find that other common ground. Went and watched the Lean Elementary Fun Run last week. They had a little obstacle courses, which was really kind of cool. And they had axe throwing, and then my favorite was the human foosball. The kids were like, foosball. Little things, and they were kicking the ball. It was pretty fun. I didn't get to play because I'm broken, as you can see now. Then Mike with George did the dyslexia committee. I think we're starting to get somewhere finally. We learned how we're already assessing in the kinder age, and the program is being used. We're hoping we can improve those programs.
That's what I'm saying. Then they're the ones that break down on me. They were cussing and screaming and being hella rude. What are you talking about? They never flipped out on anybody.
National cheer competition, so that was fun. That was my spring break. Had the second YDN meeting. That was interesting and fun, and I beat everybody in the room at rock, paper, scissors. I was the grand champion. And I won a prize. And getting to know the people in the district and the community better, going there and working on little projects together. That's it for me.
Thank you. Member Blue?
Last Monday, the 27th, I took my mom and we went to the open house art show at Tolbridges Elementary. And I was actually able to tour not only the art, but TK through 5th grade classrooms. So that was pretty interesting. I haven't been back to the classrooms in a few years. But we actually did get to see the science classes, and that was pretty interesting. And they have a lot of science projects out. And then last Saturday, my husband and I drove up to Fallon, Nevada, and watched our track team, our shooting sports team. They currently have 8 girls and 26 boys on the team.
Very cool.
And just a little fact that I got from the coach was each of our members will shoot 3,250 rounds during of ammo during
You're good, Gia.
the season.
We love you, Gia. You're fine.
They
Don't
have
worry.
44 practices, 6 tournaments, 1 state tournament, and 1 national tournament.
In Las Vegas.
Yes. I just want to throw out a couple dates. Next
Casey
competition
Tenen
is April
for
22nd,
president.
and that's in Yolo
Casey
County.
Tenen for
The next one
president.
is May 6th in Sac Valley, and the other one is May 20th in Sac Valley. You can either contact me, or I can get you in touch with Kevin or Coach Hernandez or Coach Alb. I don't know if he's here tonight. But you can tell him I talked about.
I will. I'll let
about
him
the
know.
track team. And that's all.
Great, thank you. And those tech tournaments are so much fun. There's something going on every minute. I mean,
I know.
somebody's shooting, a lot of people are shooting every minute, and
No
some of
school
these
shooting though?
shooters are
Isn't that
absolutely
weird?
Yeah. And there's scholarships.
100 out of 100.
There's tons of scholarships available for
Yeah.
these teams, yeah.
And fun facts for gun lovers, those guns run somewhere up towards $20,000.
Nice.
Yeah, so, not, I mean, my daughter shoots trap, but I have why I $20,000. Very, very fun. And we're happy.
So, Carrie and Emma and myself went to Orlando to the National School Board Association Conference. I mentioned to most of us here that they had asked for us to speak. First, to speak on how Western Placer has used the youth development framework for many years now to help engage young people through teachers by helping them to connect better with young people. I think it's easy to read PowerPoint, but this thing kind of encourages them to connect with young people in a way that is probably more work for them, but a lot more engaging. So we had a really, I think, great session in which we had 20 or 30 folks. A lot of questions afterwards, like, you know, how did you get a city to agree to come on board with a framework that stretches youth support and development throughout every resource within the community? And so we had some really good conversation. After that, I had done a separate presentation, which was on the third day, and it was first thing in the morning. So I was really hopeful that no one would be there, and I could just sort of wrap up and go early, because it was a long couple of days, but it was full. And the topic was how technology is changing the way it's changing everything. And in that, I'll just give you two cliff notes. One is ChatGPT 3 was released in November of last year, and 5 months later, ChatGPT 4 came out, which is just a large language model, artificial intelligence that is being backed by huge companies, Microsoft being one of them. And in that 5-month time, it now has access to 100 trillion parameters and is 500 times larger than its predecessor of only 5 months older.
Jesus Christ.
And I don't know how to say this in a way that people will hear it, but it's incredibly disruptive technology.
Yeah.
Incredibly disruptive technology. And I compare that to the education system in this country that has not changed significantly in 70 years. And I think, wow, how is that going to work out? I have been, I think George is as well, a huge advocate for career technical education, because I'll tell you what, CTE programs teach young people how to do things with their hands, and it's going to take a very long time for AI to build a house or to, you know, do electrical work or anything else that requires figures. It'll happen, but it's going to take a lot longer. And a couple of the people came up to me afterwards and had asked, like, so, you know, what can we do? And one of the first things I suggested was, I think school districts in the administrative level have to bring these skills to their staff. And they have to help their staff see how using artificial intelligence will make their jobs easier so that they'll buy in. And then once they buy in, they can start showing young people how artificial intelligence,
Waking up
is
to
not
AI,
able to
fucking
avoid
based.
the workforce, how it can be used to leverage better efficiencies. But that requires trust. And we have this real issue as adults where, you know, we say things in public forum about young people that their brains aren't developed until their mid-20s, which is probably true, but also a little dismissive. Or we play sound effects on our phones while they're talking. And here's my fear with that. Issues aside, my fear with that is, in a scary world, it sure is nice to have somebody you trust. Somebody who knows you, who listens to you, who pays attention to you, even when you're young and you're still figuring things out. But there's this sort of like, you know, comforting hand on your shoulder so that things that are new and scary don't feel as new and scary. And I don't think we're doing a terribly good job being supportive. While I understand our role here is to educate, people don't learn when they're not safe. They don't learn when they're frightened. And there's frightening things. Many that have happened, but many that are still going to. And I sure would like to see the same kind of support for some of the members of this board shined upon young people that are doing hard and scary things, because I think they need that support. It's very difficult to stand up in front of a group of people that don't agree with you and let your voice shake a bit. And I think that needs to be celebrated. I say it in every meeting. I am pro young people. They're the ones that are gonna make sure that this thing all runs, and we're too old to get up and do it ourselves. And I do agree with you, Ariana, we have to make sure that there is support for every
He's
person.
clearly in support of the landing spot.
What happened with the landing spot was really unfortunate. I get that, but we now have to make sure that there's something in place for those that are vulnerable. Yeah, I think that's all.
The city can do that.
He needs to be
Okay, so
recalled ASAP.
I went to go see the play at Lincoln High School with my husband, all in the timing.
Jason
all in the
Price
timing.
needs to be
And Ariana
recalled
was actually
ASAP.
wonderful. And at the end, well, I noticed. one
Get
of
your
the
kids
people
out of
besides
public
Ariana,
school. Do
one of
not
the
let your kids in
actors
public school.
was one of the young men that spoke at our meeting on, our large meeting on Friday night about the Hate You Give book. And he was very eloquent. I told him he should be a public speaker. And we completely disagreed on the book. And he ran up to me after the play.
Michelle wants her
and,
kids safe, unlike you,
we
liberal
had a great
mom.
conversation, and all of our disagreements didn't matter. He's a wonderful kid, and I enjoyed, I just, you know, we have to remember that these are our students, and they are wonderful in so many ways above and beyond our disagreements.
This woman, April's amazing. Very good woman.
So that was a real joy. I really enjoyed that play. Academic Excellence Committee, we had the first meeting. We talked about what already exists. Joe, to your point, is Joe still here? Joe, to your point, we talked about what already exists, and then we asked for some data so we can make decisions on next steps moving forward. So, Joe, you must have been with us in spirit in that meeting, because we're thinking the same way. So, I'd like to address the Project Veritas video as well.
Yes.
I was extremely disturbed with what I saw in that video.
Thank God.
Especially the admonition of lying to the parents.
Yep.
Not confidentiality.
Disgusting.
Lying, and getting at 12-year-olds for an opportunity for puberty blockers.
Absolutely disgusting.
I
Criminal.
do understand that there's an investigation that the district is doing.
Thank God.
Jolene's point, or I can't, yes, to Jolene's point.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Cliff is going to brief us on that.
Thank you.
So,
Called CPS and Roseville Police. He should be charged with a felony.
I don't know if you guys know this, but
This woman cares.
last week, a 14-year-old young lady in a neighboring district ran away from home at 4 o'clock in the morning, entered her high school, and hung herself. She was an acquaintance of my daughter's
Oh my gosh.
and a best friend to one of my daughter's best friends. We found her at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know who found her. It didn't say the news.
Wow.
But it is a horrible reminder of the mental crisis that our children are suffering right
That's
now.
right. That's right.
Doesn't matter
No.
if she was black or white or
Gay
brown
or
or
straight.
purple.
Yep.
Or LGBTQ.
Right.
Or straight.
Yep.
She was someone's daughter,
She's gone.
probably someone's sister.
Yep.
I agree with Ariana that we need to find out now if there's a gap in the LGBTQ community for support and anybody else that needs support. Our
Exactly.
children need support.
Yes.
And I don't like putting a label on these kids.
Thank you.
They are our children. They need our support. They need us to come together to give them this support. So as a district, we need to find out what we can do to Ariana's point to bring some support that is needed to these kids regardless of who they are, because they are all, we love them all.
The rainbow's ours. It's not yours.
And they're all God's children. And that's all we have.
Thank you, April. That's humanity right there, folks. That woman is a human being. You hear that?
Now we are at, Ripple, is that right? Josh? Josh, I don't think I have it. Okay, CSEA? All right, no, not here, all right.
They would be mentally healthy if there was none of this shit in school.
All right, hold this. So as you can tell, I'm not Carrie Callahan. She attended the NSPA conference and then is currently on vacation, so I'm filling in for her tonight. Want to get a brief rundown of some of her happenings in the past couple weeks. As Joe mentioned earlier, AB 659 now has nothing to do with K-12 education, so I know that was a concern by some folks about potentially schools requiring the HPV vaccine.
Thank you.
For 8th graders,
Thank
so
you.
that's no longer a K-12 issue, so as Joe mentioned, that's
a win.
just an update.
That is a win.
The Hate You Give review committee that was formed, as mentioned at the last meeting, had their first meeting last week, mainly to ground themselves in our process. We have board policies and administrative regulations that speak exactly to how we handle when parents complain about instructional materials.
Thank you.
What the scope of their review is. We have board policy 1312.2 that details that. We also have other board policies that talk about what we look for when we adopt curriculum. So they kind of grounded themselves in all of those things. All of the members were also asked to read the book to be able to actually speak to the concerns and the issues. So I know they've got another meeting coming up, I think on the 18th when we get back from break. Carrie attended Carlin C. Coppin one day and met with a student who was principal for the day, who was the top fundraiser for a school fundraiser and got to be principal for the day. So I don't know exactly what that entailed. Maybe he got to discipline some kids, that would have been fun. But I don't know exactly, it was probably more of a ceremonial role, but congratulations to that young student for doing that. As was mentioned by Marjorie and some others, Carrie also attended the first community YDM meeting, which involves not just school district folks, but community members. And I know Carrie's mentioned this a few times, her goal of having a Lincoln Youth Master Plan for all kids. And there's definitely some shared interest among community members and community leaders.
The left, the bigots.
I don't know how many of you look forward to Carrie's video intros with some of her monthly newsletters, but I know there was a little bit of a hiatus. She recently filmed a new crop that's going to come out in our next April newsletter, so look for that. As George mentioned as well, the Dyslexia Committee met last Monday. Phoenix High, their leadership students recently traveled to Southern California. They do this kind of on an annual basis. They got to go to the Museum of Tolerance, participate in some leadership activities, and then of course hit up Disneyland, so I was a little jealous of that. Our elementary and middle school math pilot has been ongoing. It's nearing the final stages. We've had staff input, community input, parent input. The materials are currently up on display on the 4th floor in our lobby. So that's part of the process every time we look at curriculum. So I know curriculum has been a hot topic. The book obviously was a hot topic with our English curriculum. So I encourage folks, the math curriculum is still there, it's upstairs. You can come and review all of the materials and go through it. Now math hopefully will be a less controversial subject, but just so you know, it's up there to review. The committee that's been working on piloting it, the teachers that have been piloting, should be coming in May with a recommendation to the board on what curriculum they're looking forward to implementing next year. And then just to speak a little bit on my doings for all of those who really care about
The
me.
investigation.
So I'm the assistant superintendent of personnel, and we have in this district a special process that we do each year for any time we have an opening. So when teachers either retire or resign or move on, Some districts would just post those jobs on adjournment on the internet job board. Our district, we do this in-house little program first. So if you're at a school site and a job opens and properly credentialed, we allow teachers at the school site to have basically first dibs. So there's some movement at the site level. There's a few rounds. We kind of go until no one makes any moves. And then we take all the remaining vacancies to the district, and anyone from any site with the right credential can put in for transfer. So Ariana had mentioned that some of the Lincoln High students were frustrated. This is the fourth and last year where staff from Lincoln High will be going to TBHS or any other secondary school, because this is the last year of movement, as now we'll have 2 full high schools with 4 grade levels. So good thing this won't be happening anymore. Obviously the transition's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Every year there are a certain number of teachers based on the increased enrollment of one school, the declining enrollment of another. There's a number of teachers that are identified that we have to lose, they have to transfer. And it goes by student interest and student enrollment, so a lot of it goes on what classes students choose. In some cases, if no one opts to go, the least senior member would then be voluntarily transferred. But sometimes we have folks who do have an interest to go. So I know it can feel, I've been a part of this before as a teacher myself. It's a bit of a weird transition. It can feel like some people are either being pressured or you're losing good people or good staff. I don't want to make anyone feel like the staff that we still have in Lincoln High isn't a great staff, but it is a tough transition, and there are some folks that will be going to the other side. I shouldn't say that, it's not the other side, but the other high school. Hopefully it's not the other side. Going forward in the future, obviously, based on the projected growth in this town, Lincoln's going to rebound as well. We're probably not going to have this special split little transition fair that we do. But and then I know there were some students that were concerned Lincoln High that reached out to the district, and Mr. Mall, the director of personnel, went out and spoke to the leadership students at Lincoln High just to talk, hear them out and then talk about the process. It is a contractual process that we have, delineated in our contract, so it is something kind of particular, and it is unique. Not every district does this type of thing. So I'm happy next year we'll just have the regular site routing and assignment fair and not have to do the high school transition. And then just following that, all of our next year openings for certificated positions are now posted online. So it is a little bit weird to attend job fairs and tell interested candidates, hey, if you're still looking for a job in a month, look online, because we have that internal process first, but our stuff's finally out. So have a number of great people provide a lot of service for the district who are retiring, and then other people who are moving on for other reasons. And then April mentioned this a little bit earlier. So the district is currently looking to partner with a third-party assessor to conduct an investigation into the landing spot, and just one to determine if there was any impropriety. Obviously, that's a huge concern with some of the things that came out. Obviously, I think a lot of people are concerned at any time when when someone might be purposely not being fully truthful with families and parents, especially any adult at school. So I understand why that could be alarming as well. And I think Ariana spoke to it as well as April. We do have students in need. We do have students that need support. That doesn't mean we can't find other ways to provide that support. Exactly. It may not be this organization, but that doesn't mean that the district isn't doesn't value the needs of our students, and doesn't value that support. So I don't have an answer right now for that, but I do know that's something that's near and dear to Carrie. She did hear from families who were receiving support from the landing spot and did feel like it was a good support for them. And it was a little different because the students and the parents were both in the know and were involved. So I know there's definitely need, and that's something we're going to continue to look at. But obviously, with some of those concerns that came out and were made public, I mean, I understand as a parent myself that would take some pause and want to reevaluate some things.
Thank you, sir.
That's where we're at, and that's my report.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are seven. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item should complete a yellow request to address the board of trustees form located at the table, on the table at the entrance of the boardroom. Request forms are to be submitted to the board clerk before each item is discussed. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. So, 7.2 is approved resolution 22-2220, for tax and revenue anticipation oversight.
Okay, thank you. This is an item that we bring to the board every year.
One more time.
A tax revenue anticipation note, referred to as a TRAN. It is used as a financing tool to mitigate cash flow deficits. We receive our property taxes from Placer County 2 times a year in December and April, but we pay our employees every month and have expenditures every month. And so sometimes there can be peaks and valleys of cash flow. And so this is a way of, sort of like I refer to as taking out a line of credit. If we need to use it, we do. If we don't, it sits in the account and earns interest. And then the agreement is to pay it off at the end of the year. So it is a one-year transaction. It is currently sized at $7.5 million. That's estimated based on the cash flow needs at any point in time during next school year. And it may be less than that or more, but it is going to be no more than 8.5 as on the POS, the preliminary official statement says, but they're figuring that it'd be around 7.5. How this works again is that we earn interest in that on that deposit, and then we are charged interest. And we participate in this program when it is either a net zero, it doesn't cost any more than it does to have that money in the account, or we earn a little bit of interest on it. Last year we did not participate in the program because the interest that was charged was much more than was earned. And so we used dry period financing through the Placer County. And so that was another way of doing that. So this year, the numbers look a little bit different. The interest rates are going up a little bit right now. And so we're looking that we would be able to have a positive cash flow on that transaction. So there is a resolution. There's a continuing disclosure certificate that's attached to the board, the item, and then the large balloons POS that you can read through. It's a draft right now. It hasn't been formalized. We do need to have the resolution approved, and then we'll go through the process of finalizing the transaction.
Great, thank you. All right, so this is, actually, is this roll call or? Okay. All right, any questions?
Yeah.
It should be a roll call, I'm sorry, yes.
It should be a roll call.
Yes.
So Audrey, these are funds that come from the county?
No, it's actually, well.
They're state funds
They're
distributed?
funds that are, come from, investment firms.
Okay.
And then, last year it came from the county, their cash.
Share your link,
So,
Mr.
this,
Good guy.
we go
Share
out
your link to your music.
to
I'd love to
size
hear it. Share it to my
basically it's like
friends and
a
my family
loan.
and my viewers. Please do.
And, depending on the rates that we get at the time when we size it, then we lock into those rates and we earn a certain interest rate of holding that in the county treasury, and then we pay a certain interest rate on using those funds.
So you're splitting the difference between the rate that we're being charged and the rate we can earn?
Right.
And then the county pays the interest back to us because it's in the treasury?
Yes, so the money is held in the county treasury, and we earn interest from the county treasury, and then we pay interest on that to the firm that loans us the funds. You have to be very careful with this because you don't want to earn too much interest on that because they call it arbitrage. Yeah, so we want to make sure that so we try and make sure that we're, it's a viable transaction and we're not paying in that interest, but we don't want to earn too much money because then they don't want us to do that.
That's terrible.
So just because this always fascinates me, so the state promises a budget, but doesn't give it to us right away. So we take out a loan to bridge the time in which it's approved versus the time in which we receive it, and then they charge us interest.
Right.
That's
and then-
crazy.
But we leave it with the county treasury department, which has to pay us the interest. I mean, like,
What a joke.
okay,
Yes, because we receive property
Confusing.
taxes and state
What a
aid as a
joke.
combined
Showgame for
funding,
sure.
it's a majority funding. And, we all pay our property taxes this month and back in December, and those all get deposited in the county. And then the county pays, us, the districts, school districts, the property taxes. So because property taxes only are paid twice a year, we don't get them every month, like state aid, the state amount is apportioned every month by a certain percentage. Property taxes only come twice a year. So you're receiving a significant portion of your funding only twice a year, yes. So you do, we have to find ways of being able to get through those lean times where our cash may be lower than we're comfortable with, so yes.
it's not a criticism of you, it's a compliment.
No,
It's a ridiculously complicated shell game of.
Yes.
Exactly.
So anyway, I'm just, thank you
Yes.
for the thoughtfulness of that, and
Thanks.
yay, government.
Start that war with your local library, or win that war. Don't hesitate to fight for the kids. It's all about the kids.
One page. Any other questions for Okay, all right. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Roll call.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Freeman? Yes. Ms. Coffin?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Dexter?
Yes.
And Ms. Nixon?
Yes. Thank you. All right, 7.3. Approve the selection of, I can't even pronounce that, Roblin. Roblin. All right.
Cool. Good evening, everybody. Yes, on March 6th, the district issued a request for proposals from our pre-qualified general contractors to submit a percentage fee proposal to provide pre-construction and construction leaseback services for our 12 Bridges High School portables project, to be awarded to the contractor with the highest best value to the district based on qualifications and the price, their price proposal itself. On March 22nd, the district received 4 proposals from potential leaseback entities. And based on their pre-qualification submittals that we received back in February, and the qualification statements and their price proposal themselves in their response to the RFP, the district reviewed, scored, and ranked the proposing contractors for best value. And based on that evaluation, the district has selected Roland Contracting Incorporated as the leaseback entity to execute the leaseback agreement and perform services for the project. I attached the leaseback agreement itself for reference, and then also the best value scoring sheet. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them. If not, I see you going, so.
I just, oh, my turn, okay. So we own the portables.
Yeah, so they're actually the portables that are in the parking lot of Lincoln High School.
Right.
But,
I don't understand how it's a lease back if we already own them.
so the lease back instead of, you just make it, so
I don't
in your traditional.
ignorance, I really don't understand.
I just have a question.
Okay,
No.
okay, good.
So here's the
Okay, I
so,
think we know.
so in your traditional design bid build, the architect designs it, the contractor bids it, and then we build it. The disadvantage of that are, if they aren't the best set of drawings in the world, opportunistic contractors, not all contractors will see that. They'll bid low. In their mind, they got all sorts of change orders coming. And because they're the lowest, if they're responsive and responsible, you have to award it to the lowest bid. So there's the disadvantage, and then of course you build it. And then you get your change orders, and then we have some of the fun that I used to have. The leaseback delivery method is, we own the property, we basically lease the property where the project's gonna be occurring
Oh,
to the contractor. They do the improvements and they basically lease the property back, the improvements back to us via what used to be their scheduled value payments, but now we do lease payments after, you know, what happened for the music, back in 2015.
So confusing.
That's what kind of created the, requirement that we award based on a best value process, which.
This shit is hella confusing.
yeah, and this is a stupid question, then I would assume the ownership transfers back to us.
Yeah, so the title is always in the district, it's just, they do the improvement, they finance the improvement, and we pay them via.
They lease land, lease equipment, and lease buildings.
Yeah.
This shit is
Yeah,
crazy.
so at this
It's a wonder
point,
why our
we
budgets
went through the
are
process,
fucked
we pre-qualified all our
because Nothing
contractors.
is clear. It's very ambiguous.
We put out the
It's
RFP,
vague.
at this
And
point,
it's like
we officially bring them on as
contractor
the entity.
free-for-all.
They can start
Listen,
pre-construction services,
it's
so
crazy.
they'll start looking at estimating, constructability reviews. That's where they see, hey, here's an issue, here's potential change order, you know, they work with the architect now, get it out of the way. And then once DSA approves the drawings, they can provide us what they call a guaranteed maximum price. So here's the price to do the project. We'll negotiate a contingency and allowances for the unknown, and those things that, if we get a really good price, we can maybe do some other things we'd like to do. So in May, is when I'll bring back the guaranteed maximum price.
They borrow money.
At that point,
to cover their
we'll have
losses
the cost,
and
we'll know if
mistakes
we're entering
on
into a
one side.
construction contract.
So they're constantly playing
And
the
we'll do the
shell
project
the
this
money.
year.
So you never know where it is.
And if the project comes in under budget,
Not so
then the
back
district
tonight,
gets that
but,
money back, correct?
Yeah, so
That's the benefit of a lease is that.
that is the benefit. I mean, the guaranteed maximum price technically is the price,
Most people
but
left
their savings
already.
the contract.
I'm gonna stay to the end to make sure that I get to speak about my public comment. For future agenda items, I would like to bring up the fact that we need to be aware the next time a spot like the landing spot is gonna be funded, or they're
And
gonna give
the dollar
access to
amount's
our kids.
not small, but essentially it's because there's no infrastructure. We're gonna, put all of the plumbing and, everything that needs to.
Yeah, so obviously we have the plumbing there. We'll have to bring the plumbing to where the majority of the portables are gonna go. And there's gonna be quite a bit of grading because we're doing a little bit of anticipation work for that permanent building someday, but.
Have you checked for parish run? I'm just asking.
You know,
It seems like-
I'm not dealing with that every day, but no, we're good to go.
That have my value system and I share that. I don't agree with transgenders on the left. And the ones that
I lost years of my life over this.
they understand that they have mental illness and they need help. They have gender dysmorphia.
Right now, there's some lead time issues, but we're gonna work through those. But classrooms will be operational.
We don't want to corrupt our minds of our
Otherwise,
children.
all those extra kids are from your office.
Exactly. If you want to transition,
So this
do it when
is
you're 18, or
approval
when you're
of
an
this
adult, or when you're emancipated, or when you
Do
move
I have a motion?
out. Our schools should not be promoting the sexualization of our children, let alone the promotion of transitioning or changing your orientation or changing your name behind your parents' back. I mean, what would be the difference if a teacher wanted to let your son shoot up heroin in a room and they were going to give him a safe place to do it, right? So they give the kids a needle, a tie off, a safe place, and a protective area to shoot up. Are you okay with that?
Joe?
No, no one's going to be okay
And
with
if
that.
you're gonna yell at someone, this was my item, so you can, right here. Nobody else needs to take any
We
of
don't
it.
need no
That's
trans
It's all, that's all.
education.
Okay.
All right.
Right here.
Go for it.
Reading from board policy, bylaw 9250, originally adopted 9 of 27, last revised 2 of 15. So the previous boards have done a disservice to all of you guys in not keeping these things up to date. Unfortunately, on an annual basis, the board may increase the compensation of members the limit delineated by Ed Code 35120 in the amount not to exceed 5%, which is about $12.80.
Those old games are all beat up.
So with that being said, I'm glad that you guys have finally brought this up because it's a long time coming. And on the subject of compensation, I hope this board doesn't go forward with a Me Too that's been done in the past. It's such a disservice to the classified staff. When teachers get raises, we're talking about thousands of dollars. When classified get raises, we're talking hundreds of dollars. Classified staff make up this community. There are lots of teachers who live in this community and support this community. At the backbones of the school are the classified staff. So I hope going forward you guys don't continue that process.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with this.
Yeah, I did a little research on it myself. So this is my item. Oh, okay. So Cliff and I talked about this, so after I brought this up, about, hey, maybe we should take a look at our stipends,
This
because
woman,
I
April,
know a lot of us are putting
she's
in a
amazing.
lot more
As a board
time.
member,
We're going a
she
lot more places. I
supports
think this board
our
is
side.
very
Remember
active
that.
and getting more active, which is great. And so I did a little bit of research, and like there is, and I don't know the state mandate. You probably have it. You mentioned it, that one.
3512.
That does limit us because we're under 10,000 at $240.
That's exactly
a
why I
month.
support the gay
So I don't think we
programs,
should go
right?
over
I
that.
don't support gays, like,
No.
and their lifestyle.
But
If they're gonna help
Cliff
me fight
has a
the
little bit of
kids,
information
I
on
can check
the
out my
buck.
shirt.
Yeah, I'm not promoting anything.
Nope, you
Just
just had
giving
to-
information. So you asked us to
Groom
look
dogs
at,
for my kids.
how we fare competitively. So April found the ed code, so because we're less than 10,000, student ADA, ed code does limit you to 240 a month if you attend all the meetings. So I think that might have been the initial idea, was maybe a little more, but that's, in statute limited. What some boards do, some boards, so it's 240 plus you have the option to, pay in to be part of our benefits package, but it'd be at your
Inbox me
expense.
and we'll get you a
There are
shirt.
some
brother.
districts
I'll make
whose
sure I
boards
get you a shirt.
actually get benefits as well, or benefits in lieu of pay, so there's different options. So of our kind of surrounding districts and competitive districts, there are two that actually have pay and benefits. One is Roseville Joint Unified, so they get 240 plus, they can opt into the district paid benefits plan at the district expense, but you can't have anything, you get the same amount
That
of
is the
employees, but
hardest
you
thing
can't have
for the gay
anything
community,
greater
when
than
they
what
speak
the
up
employees get.
against the agenda.
There's another local
that
district,
basically
they
is like
only
a
pay the
pepper
180 to the
involving
smaller
all
district, and they have
the
benefits. So there's
leftists
two locally
always
that
turn
do,
on
the rest do
So
not. The rest are
what
like us,
sucks
so you can
is
opt in.
the gay people that want us
The
to
only
do
thing I
what's right
would caution is
are
if
bullied
this is something you're
and
considering.
they're ostracized by their own
Obviously, these types of
community,
things
basically
could potentially
forced
have
to go along with the
an effect
agenda,
at the
even
table
though they
when
know
we're
it's wrong.
negotiating.
Nobody
We
with
try
a
to be
common
obviously
sense
competitive with
brain
our,
in their head would think that going
with our
against
comparison districts. Sometimes we're number one in certain categories. Oftentimes we're right in the middle, that's kind of where we shoot. We obviously don't want to be
is appropriate
at the
or
bottom.
make
Right now, you're
this
basically
not
number two of all our comparison districts in terms of board compensation. So
That's right, man.
if this were something you were
Praise
interested
Jesus.
in,
Jesus is amazing.
obviously that would put you
I
kind of
prayed
first.
today and it helped.
And that
I was
potentially
having a
could
bad
come
day.
back to the table with our
And it
agreements.
definitely helped change
You
my
also don't want to be
emotions.
first.
They want to talk about our $240 a month.
right.
That's
That's
where
what I
I
said.
start
I mean,
struggling.
like-
I'm like, oh, if I was on a pole, would it be like
True.
It's just something to consider.
But yeah,
So that is
it's
a-
like
that's
it's
a
true.
option.
Traditional
The
gays,
other thing I
traditional
would caution
trans
against is with our
people,
classified
they
employees,
didn't want to go after
they receive
kids.
prorated
They always
benefits.
admitted, hey, this
So
is
if
my
they're
lifestyle. I'm an
less than a
adult. I can
full-time
do what I
employee,
want.
they only get a certain amount
But
of
now,
their benefits.
they want to start
So,
telling you
that
that a child
potentially
who
could be
doesn't
a
know what they want
conflict
to
if
eat for
with,
dinner should be able to
classified
transition
employees who aren't
while
full-time
in school.
employees, and you can get the full amount of
There's no
benefits that
way
the board takes the full amount of
that
benefits.
logically
I think you put us
people think a child who's under the age of
Um,
16,
there might be more to
what happens
discuss
when
on
you're
this, I don't know.
16 and you go out and drive.
Well, I
They
don't
have
think
no
it needs to be
experience.
proposed, that's just
They don't know
information,
what
so
they're doing.
that would be something
They
to
have to
to
learn,
consider.
right?
How do
So,
we provide benefits
This
certificate,
guy
employees,
said,
how is it different for classified?
Jason Price was
And
like,
if you
oh,
were to
it's a
propose
shame
something,
to
what would
assume
you
kids
propose?
aren't mentally in a capacity to make that decision.
Well, how would it work
If the kids
if
can't
a
go to
board
war,
member's term
they
expires,
can't get
then
a tattoo,
the benefits, they would expire as well, correct? Or are they able to continue paying?
they
it?
can't do rent a car.
No, those are.
Why in the hell
Yeah.
would they think that these kids should be allowed to transition? It's
I
crazy.
mean, so dental's part of the plan. So the current
But I'm
max plan
supposed
for
to be allowed
full-time
to speak
employees
on
in the
agenda
district
item 8.1.
contributes
So we'll see how well this
$1,201.99
works out. But my goal is to
for the
basically
plan. So
let
it's
them
about
know
14,000.
that I'm gonna put off seeing the
14,000
Viking body
24.
skull.
So that is the best benefits package of all of our
Maybe I'll
comprehensive
give you guys
districts.
a VIP.
So of our plans,
The
of our
liberal
plans,
mom
where
might be
we cross with the others, you know, you would pick
It's the liberal moms for
the one
America.
that you wanted, and we would contribute
She
up to
hates
that
me
amount,
because
you
I'm
would
a
be
Nazi.
responsible for any
Don't tell
difference,
anybody though.
unless you picked a plan that was covered.
So that's the information.
Adam and Eve, not not Adam and
Are
Steve.
Do you guys have any more questions or want to discuss it or?
Other than if anybody wants benefits, you can't get higher pay.
Did anyone want to discuss the benefits?
Well, what do you think of the benefits?
Well, I already am covered.
I know.
Twice, and so that it's not anything that I would.
I made some pretty based
Personally, that's
religious
just my situation.
shirts. I'll post them in the merch page. If you're on my Telegram page, unapologetic.
I think the only thing for me is,
I'll send
you
you
know,
the link
sometimes
on Telegram if you want to be in
there
there,
are-
and you can see my
I don't
merch.
know, it's like, it determines who.
Yes,
I
I'll
don't
make a sick
know,
of it.
I don't know, for me, it's just like, it's a shockingly
Scipio.
thankless,
So
terrible job.
I'm very old school.
I mean, you guys know.
Unapologetic
Good Lord, I mean,
merch
it's,
page. So
yeah,
just
so I mean,
inbox me on Telegram now.
I think any
Uh,
incentive,
my
not maybe for
Telegram
us, but for who
handle
might run
is
next,
unapologetically
they're,
white.
I also
So
think
if
a
you
little
want to
bit
find me
about,
on
you know,
Telegram,
how we have,
unapologetically white.
I don't know, we
And
said
then
we
I
have
have
a lot of people in
unapologetically
some cities
merch
that don't
for
ever
the normies,
contemplate doing this.
and then I
don't
have the
know, some
unapologetic
kind of-
PB
I mean,
banners.
I
So,
agree, because we're serving them here.
That we could set up.
yes,
Yeah,
I could
I
see
mean,
how
it's
you say that
expensive.
hate for Trump is like
Well,
hate
sure,
for
absolutely.
Jesus,
Yeah,
except for
I'd rather,
Donald
for
Trump
me, I'd
pushed
rather
that
see that money
fucking
go
jab.
to the kids.
You know, if he wouldn't have
and
pushed
Yeah, no,
that
I
jab, I
don't
think
disagree.
that a lot of
Is
people
there
would still
any
support him.
other type of
But,
creative,
you know,
incentives
When
or?
you start pushing something that's been proven to be unhealthy
No, I don't know.
and millions of people have died
Purposes,
from
I
it,
don't know. I mean,
why
it's
in the
just-
fuck we want to support him?
Out of the box now.
I know,
Jesus
I
never
know,
pushed the
I
jab.
know, but I mean, what you were saying is, yeah, it is.
How about like continuing education?
I'll go back to kindergarten.
You know, we pay for teachers. Oh, we're paying, you know,
Anyway. What was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, we feed you everyone.
Every once in a while,
Yes,
that's
thank
true.
you. We appreciate that.
Although Jordan's hungry today.
Continuing
It's
education.
like, what have you
If
done
we
for me
send
lately?
our teachers back to school, they're
No, I
going to
agree.
be even more
$1,200
liberal and
that's
more
too big an ask.
progressive because
Yeah, I
colleges
agree.
are not conservative. So just imagine if, like,
Pay for conferences.
he didn't mandate the jab, but he promoted the jab. That's kind of what bothered me. It's whatever, dude. I haven't even know
Nobody
if
wanted to go, to be honest.
if voting's gonna
It's kind of one of those
happen
things
to be
that I
honest.
didn't hear anybody.
But I think the goal right now is to indict Trump so he can't run in
Okay,
2024.
well, thank you. Thanks for the information.
Good info.
I think it was a good discussion to have, just so we know.
Sure.
And I'm glad we're all in
And at
agreement.
10,000 students, it only goes up to $400, so it's not.
Yeah, the liberal mom for America is gone. I haven't heard her run her mouth
Okay,
really. I thought
all
she
right. Well,
kept
thank you.
tabs. I
Thank
thought she
you
was
for
gonna keep
discussing that,
tabs
and
on
thank
Nazi
you for
Jeff Holden.
helping us Assess through the information.
Hopefully I get to speak
Okay,
one more time.
7.5,
Agenda
approve board
8.1.
representatives to district community committees. Pleasure.
All right, so,
Viking PB
so the
merch
board
combo
had mentioned,
based.
you know, interest in some of these committees. We have some members that have already identified interest. So we've already discussed and agreed upon the board reps for the academic excellence and board policies committees. we have on the board item.
Yeah, they are. It seems like the entire leftist
Some of these
agenda
already
is
have one or
desperate.
two members, and
And there is no way
the curriculum advisory committee, those members.
the
have
board
been
can
determined. So
actually
one of your
convince
tasks
themselves
is,
that the community
besides
supports
the
this
curriculum
shit.
advisory committee, are we
There
good with
is
as
a lot of people in this community
with
that
existing
are
committees, or is there any
against
changes there that you want to
the
discuss?
mandating of
And
this
second
fucking
would be the
LGBT
curriculum
shit in
advisory
schools.
committee.
I mean, the book is called Hate Like Me. I mean, you fucking kidding me? So basically, they assume anybody who's not pro-gay is a bigot or a hater. I mean, let's be fucking real.
Because I'm
He
looking
didn't
at,
mandate
I'm
Operation
looking
Warp
at the
Speed,
committees
but he
and,
definitely promoted the fuck
and-
out of
and
Operation
who
Warp
is
Speed,
on how
which
many
really
committees.
bothers me.
And so
And
I
the fact
see
that
that,
he still has not
to
come
see
out and
you
said
are
that
on
it's
one
dangerous to
committee
use.
with me.
Yeah,
But just the
I
Farm
personally
Foundation, and so that
believe
only meets twice
the
a year,
vaccine
so
has
that's a
been
very
proven
low
to be-
demand committee. The 2x2
You can use
hasn't
your own
started,
words on
so I
that,
don't
because
know
they'll
if that's a
ban
high
me for shit on
demand
YouTube.
or low
But you know
demand.
my stance.
The library committee.
I'm not pro, not at all.
I'm not sure why we haven't had one, we probably should have had one.
Okay, yeah, so pretty low, okay.
Yeah, it was 4 times a year.
The White Hen seems to be a pretty high demand committee, would you say, Margaret? The
Yeah, the cat
dyslexia
mom left,
committee is probably
It was
becoming
like
a gonna be
Tiny
a high
Toesy
demand
for
committee.
prison. Like, who in the fuck goes out of their
That
way
is,
to
that's
talk shit
considered a
about
high,
Tiny?
like, okay.
Tiny
Pretty
was a
high.
good fucking man. He did some dumb shit,
The wellness committee.
but he was
what is that?
definitely fucking fighting for the right side.
The student wellness committee.
This is a waste of fucking tax dollars. You're 100% right, Curtis.
Okay, and then the Education Foundation Committee, what is, how often is that? Eight? Okay, so that one's monthly? Okay. All right.
Who's on that?
You are. Marjorie
I
and
am.
George. Yeah, Marjorie, you're on 5 committees right now.
Education Foundation, I haven't even gotten an invite to anything with that.
Those are from the December meeting and everything guys first
They don't even know what fucking
So I
committee
need
they're
to
on,
talk to
folks.
them
Like, they're
about
asking.
This is like a once a year, twice a
Really?
year.
You know,
He might not just be getting
yeah,
invited.
I don't know how I feel
They
about
might
that.
still
I
be
don't
meeting
know
like
if Trump would do what we need, guys.
Yeah,
But I could take Trump over
They
Hillary
aren't
or
board
Trump
committees,
over
they're just sort of
Biden.
board
But
member, we're board
I mean,
members.
honestly, he banned fucking the bump stocks. He banned freedoms of speech on college
Educational
campuses.
Foundation is a separate
He fucking
organization.
promoted the
that
jabby
they-
doodle.
and they
There's a
provide,
lot of stuff that Donald Trump
grants
did that
to
I did not
our
support, and
employees.
not to mention that he was not
So,
America
it's
first.
a foundation,
He's
so they
clearly
do meet
not
monthly, and so
America
they
first.
have board representatives on the monthly
Oh,
meetings.
no, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, and maybe they don't
Oh,
have
so
their emails.
I love your
When
tattoos.
April and I joined the farm committee for the
Your,
first year, we weren't getting the
Your
emails
tattoos
either
are fucking
because
based. That's
they
some
didn't
shit.
have
You're
our
clearly
emails.
Viking as fuck.
We just need to
Oh,
have
pro
final
Nordic. I love that shit.
Okay,
I was
so
fucking
that
looking at your
makes
shit and I
sense.
was like, my wife would
Okay,
love
so
this
everyone
guy's
can take a
tattoos.
look and see what committees they're on, and gauge your availability before we talk about the curriculum committee.
We can have several members on that though, right?
No more than 2.
No more than 2.
No, then it's a quorum. Sorry.
No.
I know that answer.
So yeah, so just as far as balance, so member profits on 5 committees. Member Dykstra, 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see. Member Freeman, just the 1. President Sos, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, Biden. Yeah, I think he fucking. Biden is sending all of my grandparents, your parents, money to Ukraine. They are funneling all of our money. That's why the Federal Reserve,
who would want to-
FTX, and Sam
So I would
Bankman-Fried,
like to be on the
the
curriculum
billions of
committee.
dollars
So,
that they lost
and I'm
in the
there
crypto
too.
bailout
I'm Christy Wood,
was sent to Ukraine.
Marjorie,
And they
are we,
child traffic kids.
I mean,
Ukraine
this
is
would work like any
the
other committee, we would, the two would
Ukraine is the child trafficking capital of the world in Europe.
No,
I think America's obviously worse overall, but in terms of Europe, Ukraine is the #1 country for trafficking children.
I think it's an interesting one.
And not to mention, they're the #3 grain producer in the world, right? So why would the globalist elites not want to get a hold of the grain that feeds? It's called the breadbasket of Europe. There's a reason why when the Bolsheviks in 1917 and 1920s starved everybody, they came around and they confiscated all of their grain and their farmland, and then they let the government mandate the growth, and they starved everybody. So they're talking about the curriculums committee right now. And they're talking about who's on those committees because they're not even aware. So it should just tell you, the school district, we are on month 4 with this new committee. And they don't even know. He doesn't want me to get my neck done yet. I don't want to do it. Yeah, I know, honey, you're beautiful. I love your dad. You know I agree with him. It's you, so I take what I
we
get.
have
I'm
on
lucky
these
to be
3
married to such a
academic
beautiful woman.
excellence, myself and George. For board policies, we have Jason and Marjorie, and for curriculum, we have Christy and April. So we need a motion to approve those. Motion to approve. I second. Is it all in favor?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you. All right.
We just got 2
Future agenda
really
items.
good
Anyone
people.
for future agenda items?
2 really good people
Oh,
that are going to be.
oh, do I have it?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Deb.
Don't let it ever happen again,
Oh,
April.
wait, is this, oh, for future agenda, okay, good. Then
Yes.
nothing's gonna- sorry. Come on up.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So I was just writing because I didn't really know how the board was going to go tonight. I'm highly pleased on what I'm hearing tonight with the committees. It makes me, my heart pitter patter to see the people that are in the curriculum. It makes me feel like we stand a chance out here. There's a reason why I gave the compliments to Placer County and Roseville, and I think Sacramento's struggling so much. Jason, I agree with some of the things that you said. Mental health is huge. Okay, I want to clarify. Nobody on this side believes that the LGBT community should not be given mental health. Okay, so I think that for future reference and future board, we need to come up with a way to make sure that everybody has the mental health that they need and have the resources that they need. Okay, because it seems to me as an outsider that's not in the school system currently that it appears as if only the LGBT community is struggling with mental health, and that's not the case. I mean, you heard today April's emotional reading. I mean, I as a parent could not imagine my son or daughter going and committing suicide because of the not feeling supported. Okay, that is me as a parent. I'm not oblivious to what's going on, and that's why I'm trying to ring the bell on this. That it is a lot more people suffering from mental illness than just a small percentage of our community. Okay, so what I would like for the future agenda is, if we're going to be talking about bringing back something to campus to address mental health, obviously this young girl, she understands what the students want. Okay, the students clearly feel like they need help. I support that as a taxpayer. I fully support that. So what I would like to see in the future agenda would be what we can do to draw out some sort of way for everybody at the school to have access to mental health and to have a safe place where they can go. Okay, so that's what I would like to see the board provide us in the future agenda. Not something that's just simply protecting one specific group, because what that starts to cause is ostracization and separation. You have people that don't feel like they can, if they're not supporting it, you have other kids telling you, you're a bigot or whatever. So the most important thing is that all children on campus feel safe. That involves Christians, Muslims, Jews, blacks, Mexicans, immigrants, everybody, okay? So what I would like to see this board do is propose something in the future that will address the crazy amount of mental illness that this country is suffering from, And I want to let you guys know that I support that. I believe that children need support. And I want to reiterate to this student advisor, I completely support your community and getting their mental health. I fully support that. I don't agree with the lifestyle choices, but I fully support access to mental health and having access to support. So that's what I wanted to reiterate. I want to bring that up, and I hope that future agenda, we can come up with some sort of conclusion that's going to make everybody happy and everyone feel like they're being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, so do we have some, anyone have future agenda items? Yeah, so I have a couple, did you want to, Dorothy, did you have some?
No, but I was, we have the health and wellness center at Lincoln High School, and we do have counselors in there, one the county pays for, and then one we pay for. I haven't reached out to them recently, but I mean, I would hope that we can get them to be the ones to find the proper resources for outsourcing, for the students needed. I don't know if they've done that yet.
So as an agenda item, have we had the wellness center, I can't remember, I'm sorry, have we had the wellness center already present to us?
No.
Can we please, as a future agenda item, have the wellness center at both, or address us, what they're doing at Lincoln High School, what they're doing at Glen Edwards? And I think is there gonna be one opening up at 12 Bridges as well? Is that
No, not
right?
at this point.
Not at this point, okay. So we could have, that presentation, in the future, and then, and then probably sooner than later, a discussion of, some support that now we are likely missing now at, Lincoln High School with, the current situation. That one, and then, I thought that, Mr. Baldwin brought up a good topic that I actually hadn't, I mean, I think about it all the time, and probably a lot of us do, but some lessons learned from the pandemic. Maybe we could just have a discussion on that.
Yes.
As Carrie and her cabinet and the board, I think that's a really good one to go back and talk about, because not saying that anyone in your district or board or anyone made mistakes, but there were things that were thrust upon us that, and things that happened during that time, that maybe we should talk about and just hash out, or maybe things that we can learn from.
Yes.
What are you going to do to that before I ask? You don't
Addressing the future
So,
pandemics, because they're coming. They're going to
there were a
bring
lot of, well, you
a
could
different
certainly
pandemic
discuss
in the
things that
next 2
happened
years.
at board
Trust me,
meetings,
they're gonna launch it out.
about, things
Hey, it's been
that
really good
happened
out here today, wife.
with,
Jump,
dynamics
look at you.
between
Just
boards,
jump,
audiences, and candid conversations on that, things that happened at the
Thank you, guys.
schools as far as,
They're
maybe how,
talking about bringing up
some things were handled
how
with
we
masking
address
and
the COVID
non-masking,
pandemic next time
and,
and the
how
lockdowns,
how
mask
we finally
mandates.
got, a mask, so did the mask mandate,
Yes,
and
they're talking
things
about
that
mask mandates
maybe,
and no vaccines and
just talk,
school closures,
bluntly
social
of-
distancing.
I would think that'd be more like a town hall, not a board meeting to talk about unless you want to like, put something up that, policy changes made to accommodate the pandemic, maybe, that you'd want to reverse, but have a group discussion like we did on our Saturday one about how things are, but I don't know.
I don't know what the town, I'm not sure if town hall would be different than a board meeting, if there's more than two of us.
So the way I understand our responsibility is to meet, confer, provide direction, and vote on items in which we have purview. And I'm struggling to find how things that happened in the past and having a conversation about those in an agendized board meeting are governance. I mean, it's not like we're making a decision that is similar to one that occurred during pandemic times. So that's why I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, the conversation could be a workshop, which I think maybe is different than a board meeting where we would be discussing, because I don't disagree that having some conversation about, there are certain things that we had to deal with in closed session that aren't going to be able to be discussed in a public forum, so that all has to kind of get separated. But I'm trying to figure out how us as a governance body having a conversation without any specific action or purpose is within our purview.
One of the huge,
I don't know if
I'm not sure what the next huge problem is coming down the road.
You never know.
Yep.
But if we can glean some ability to look toward that and not duplicate a mistake we might have made in the past.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
if that's even
I
possible.
love the postmortem, for sure. I'm trying to figure out how it fits into, oh, do we not say that? That's, when it goes bad at work, you're like, all right, let's get together and talk about how that blew up, right? But I'm trying to figure out.
We talk about celebrating failure.
Oh, no, I like that, And I don't certainly want to forget but I know we signed a resolution that is still in effect, that we're not gonna exclude, so
No,
that
it's
isn't,
not about the, yeah, and I think maybe you're right, it should be a governance thing, maybe it's how we govern, or, I don't know, I just thought, I always like the lessons learned, recap, maybe it's been too long, maybe we're not the right word, I just thought I'd throw it out.
I think a workshop is probably a better forum for because then we could get presentations from,
How about
Both
this?
sides.
How about this, if the board is okay with that, if Jason, if you would trust Jason and I to talk more about it with Carrie and company?
Sure.
And see, maybe, because I do like the lessons learned idea that Chris brought up. It's always good to maybe home in, or maybe we'll just bring it back and say, we talked about it,
So
we don't know.
they
but I think
addressed
maybe
the
if we
landing
talk
spot.
about it, Carrie and company,
They are investigating Casey.
Okay.
They're having a third party investigate him, so they're not gonna let the biased school be the ones that determine if Casey committed a crime. So they're gonna have a third party auditor determine whether or not there was wrongs committed by having Casey on campus without admission of understanding. There was no life scans done. So what's wonderful is tonight, they talked about that, how he's banned, he's not coming back. Proud of you, Eddie, proud of you. Your interview was for Diamond Inc. That's so sad, so sad. I saw her interview that she had. She's claiming her sister died of being shed on
when there
by
were,
people who are vaccinated.
Parents that were gathered outside of schools. I know a
They're
couple of us
now
went and visited,
talking
maybe
about
some
what are we
didn't.
gonna do
What,
during
you
the
know,
future
how to
pandemic,
handle stuff like
how
that
to
in the
handle
future.
different situations.
I'm not sure. I mean, I learned a
Share
lot of
this
things
for me, Eddie.
by going
You got
out
a nice
there,
big
but
following,
maybe
get it out.
we talk
Share
about that as a group,
far and
what
wide.
that looks like to the
And
board.
if you like, we can go
I mean,
live
but
soon and discuss what's happening.
Let's go back.
I appreciate you very much,
And then we'll
Elsa.
come back.
Thank you for your support.
Because I do want to just consider that. If we come back with nothing, then at least we considered it. Okay, all right, so this is not an agenda item, it's just we'll talk to, something that, Jason and I will meet with Carrie on.
Okay, and then I'll talk to Carrie about the other items, figure out where in the calendar that makes sense to put this in. Obviously, the support discussions, later.
Yes, please.
April, if I may, something real quick to that. So Karen,
You got about 10 seconds.
All right.
You don't have a yellow slip, Chris. So go ahead.
So the idea that I was coming from, that were a lot of students, a lot of parents' rights were, I'll just say it outright, trampled on, right? And I think a lot of parents find the local school board as kind of their last defense to, kind of tyrannical state and federal governments on that side. So what I'm talking about is you guys looking at what you can do to stand up and push back instead of just automatically taking that and saying, oh, well, if we don't do this, they're gonna withhold our funding, or the state's gonna sue us, or our lawyer said not to do, it's either that, or I think Gus, who's not here right now, has a point in that there needs to be some sort of parents' rights group that's standing up and pushing back against, against those kind of tyrannical momentums.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for clarifying.
Proud of you.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Upcoming meeting, April 18th at Scott Lehman Elementary at 6:30 for open session, 5 o'clock for closed session, or for the start of the meeting closed session.
Appreciate you,
And with
Matt.
that, we are
Pray
adjourned.
hands. done, guys. We're done. Into the meeting, folks. So,
Thank you for all of that.
thank you, Chris. Appreciate your support, brother. My name is Jeffrey Perrine. Nice to meet you, sir. You too. That was a pretty good turnout, man. Like I said, overall, nobody. A lot of concerned citizens in the house. But I like.
Swearing to come out to these things for years and years, and finally got out here.
I like what you said though, because like we don't need a reactionary board. We need a board that's going to prepare to protect us from the fucking
I
pandemic.
would even argue that April, George, and Marjorie were all elected to be firebrand MVP type
Pushing badass. I'm so stoked that we have April on this curriculum dude, and Christy, who's straight up, they're going to defend. They're going to defend us, man. It's great.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said. And I'll probably get up and say it in the next one. Just so all the students who are here kind of understand that as the parent of an LGBTQ young person, right, is look, everybody in the room, including the entire board, wants these kids to get the help and the resources they need. That's not even a question,
It would be
right?
ludicrous to assume that we think that they should kill themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, well, not even that, but they need, they need those resources. But it wouldn't matter if it was, this type of landing spot situation or a Christian outreach group or whatever that was doing something untoward, or a Muslim group or whatever it is, right, that was doing untoward things with children without parental
Where's
knowledge.
the mission of understanding?
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? They gave us nothing, or memorandum of understanding or whatever.
Yeah, so that's...
You speak very well, and I'm in agreement with all your thoughts.
I appreciate you, sir.
It's wonderful.
I am so...
I don't require
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I'm so proud to have you on this board, sir.
Well, that's
Thank
very
you.
nice. No, but you're a well-spoken guy. You bring up your issues, and you're very nice to folks when you speak with them. So
I'm
thank
learning
you.
daily. I'm a human
We're all
being.
learning daily.
And like
That's
I said, we've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, and my goal is to not make the same mistake twice.
That's good.
And when I do it, I try to improve. That's what I try to tell everybody here. I've done my flamboyant stuff, so trying to tone it down and just kind of be more deliberate.
Your kids are very fortunate. I'm sure you're a good guy.
I appreciate you very much, sir.
Take good
Thank
care.
you, Mr. Dykstra.
Hope to see you again.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
See what I'm saying? That's a board member. That is a board member. Thank you, Chris.
Nice to
Appreciate
meet
you
you.
very much.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be at the next one.
Yeah. So I'm, like I said, our youngest will be out of the district in June, but
Yeah.
I'm going to keep coming to these
You'll ask the
things because these kids need somebody out here who's, who's going, hey, what about our rights and our freedoms?
I don't even
It's-
have kids in the district, and I'm here because there are parents who don't have the ability to talk like me.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to articulate a message, and some of them are scared. Some of them are scared of people that will respond and dox you and ruin your life and attack you. So now that I'm in this position, I've been in the spotlight. But I mean, you can see like Jason is clearly on the left side. But it's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to rip him. I agree that they need help. And as a parent and as a community member, I'm hearing these people talk. I clearly don't. I don't think that these kids are being given everything they need. They need more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
So-
I couldn't agree with you more. And yeah, one of
She hasn't
the
got
things I
nothing to
try
say
and
to me.
teach my kids, right, is
She got nothing to say to me.
I don't know whatever happened to a civil disagreement, right? Like
Right.
you and I could
Agree to disagree. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to hate each other or we have to not like each other or we have to be angry and terse and
That's right.
retributional with
That's
each
right.
other, right? It's just like, okay, look,
Yes, sir.
like you said, we probably agree on more than we disagree on. And that's
Chris, I
something
really
just-
appreciate
yeah.
you, bro. Thank you for the positive vibes today,
Anytime.
man. All right? I'll see you around. I'm going to see if I can catch this.
Sure.
Let's see if we can. Did my media lady leave already? Let's see. I think she already left. Hey, you! You're not on it? You got the article coming soon? You got the article coming soon?
One of them tomorrow.
Have a good day.
You too.
There we go. See, she called me and we did an hour and a half video, okay? We did an hour and a half interview today, and that woman just wouldn't interview me. See, she's scared that her editors are gonna fucking ream her. But
I think we're good, folks. I should probably leave it at that. Are there any questions that you guys have? Any concerns? Anything you'd like me to address? Anyone you'd like me to talk to? Because if not, I'm going to log off and I'm going to have a good night. I'm going to go home and see my beautiful wife. 2 hours is a really pretty good stream. I think it was very informative today. We learned a lot. So going over the video, more or less, for the day, they are investigating Casey Teenan with a third party. They are not letting him come back. I will definitely keep these live videos going. I will continue to inform. I will continue to show you guys what's going on. So I appreciate you all very much. Love and respect to everybody who's tuned in tonight. Everybody who's shared and communicated and locked on. J.O., perfect. Love it, J.O. Nice to meet you guys. Anybody would like any of this type of merch? In the next 2 weeks, I'll have a website going. But if in the meantime you'd like to buy a shirt or some sort of thing like that, make a donation, whatever, I'm not a grifter. I'm not a fucking grifter. I got a Cash App. It's hashtag, or it's the $ Jeffrey Eric Perrine. Twitter, Jeffrey Perrine. Telegram, Unapologetically White. And email jeffreyperrine@protonmail. So again, I appreciate you all very much. Have a wonderful night and tune in for the next video. I'll be going live again soon. And Eddie, fucking mad respect, bro. Thank you for wearing the hat today. I mailed out those other hats to your buddy, so they're in the mail. So thank you all very much, and I'll talk to you soon.